Hey everybody, welcome back to A Brief on Grief. So, we've gone on a journey of talking about the 6 main grief myths, or myths about dealing with grief. The authors want to point out that there, in no way are these 6 things the only ones that exist. These were just the ones that were most believed and most used in our society. But the first exercise in this program that I went through talks about, the 6 main ones, asks you to reflect, but then also asks you to reflect on other beliefs that or other beliefs or messages that you've heard from people or that you tell yourself about how to get through painful emotions involved with grief. So just to review that, the 6 myths that we went through are: don't feel bad, replace the loss, grieve alone, just give it time, be strong for others, and keep busy. So I reflected on those, and I definitely had my favorites. I remember replacing my loss was a big one. Replacing my loss and being strong for others is probably the 2 main that I've used the most, most in my life for sure, that I would have spoke about in previous videos. But as I sit and reflected, there's definitely more that came up. And along with these beliefs and things that came up, as well as the ones that are outlined in the 6 top ones, I realized they kind of fall under like 3 different categories. So this might be helpful when you're reflecting on your beliefs. Like the authors said, the reason why these myths about dealing with grief are so harmful is because they're attempting to intellectualize a very emotional experience. So any comment that is trying to make sense logically of a very emotional experience. So, the comments about, time will heal all, or go and do this, distract yourself and you'll feel better later on, or, don't feel too bad, or be strong for others. Those are all very intellectual comments. So they say that's the reason why they're the most harmful, and they don't communicate love to somebody that's really suffering. And there's 2 other categories that came to my heart when I was out walking. Everything comes to me when I'm walking, and I love it. Nature is fabulous. So the other 2 I thought was any comment that generalizes your pain or generalizes your loss. So comments that say, lots of people, everybody suffers the death of somebody they care about. Not a big deal. Or a lot of people go through painful divorces. You'll be stronger later on. Just wait. So anything that kind of tries to take your pain and compare it to the whole world's pain or experience that other people in the world may have. So anything that generalizes, I find, is not helpful. And then minimizing, which is kind of similar to generalizing. What's an example of minimize? Like if you lose a pet. So somebody might say, okay, I bet you're sad, but you can always get a new dog, right? Like kind of minimizing the importance and that bond that you had with that animal by just saying that you can get another one, right? Like that goes along with the replace the loss myth, right? But it really does minimize your loss, minimize the pain you're going through. So intellectualize, generalize, and minimize. So use maybe those words as like guides when you sit and reflect about the 6 myths, as well as any other things that might be in your heart that you learned. And on that note, I'm going to share a couple of things that came up for me when I thought about this. So some other messages and beliefs that I have, or that were really strong in my life, are that talking about grief and talking about my pain with people was going to make them uncomfortable. This is a really strong one for me. Or that they'll get tired of hearing about my pain and they're not going to want to be around me, or they're just going to be uncomfortable, right? So that's a hard one for me. And then ones, again, along that generalize and minimize, like everybody deals with loss, and everybody has messed up families, so having loss of trust or loss of expectation to do with your family is very normal, but which you can see that there's some truths in some of these, but you can also see how these messages are not helpful when you're really struggling with heavy, painful emotions in grief. So other ones that are meant with so much love, like all these messages are totally meant with love, and the authors highlight that, like, people really are just trying to support, and this is the only way they know how. This is how we were all taught. But messages like, oh, you're amazing, you'll find a new person, you'll get married again, or you'll be stronger after this, and this is a big gift, it's just very intellectual comment, right? It's trying to like jump ahead, way in time to a point where you may see the importance of these messages, but just the timing of some of these messages is not always helpful. And it's tricky to know the timing. Again, there's no quick answer. But I think I'm learning with my experience with grief, and as well as I've moved through my experience and also help support people that I care about with my new knowledge of grief and some of these myths, is I'm trying to avoid those myths completely, and some of the ones that I have, and just hold space for the person. So there necessarily won't be like that right thing to say. But if I can just say something like, I'm sorry you're struggling, or this must be like really painful for you, I'm sorry, my friend. Or if you're comfortable, tell me more about how you're feeling. Tell me more how this feels for you. Tell me more about what the emotions that come up. Just something that holds that space. And I can't say that this is like the quick fix and that this is going to be great for everybody, but I have that sense, because when I'm saying comments like that, like, instead of them coming from here, it's warm. It's coming straight from my heart. My heart is open. I say that stuff, and I can feel the energy there. So that just, it gives me that feeling that I know that that those comments are more helpful and creating more space and love for that person that's suffering. And I was given some feedback by a friend as well, because I actually asked him how those comments were to hear for him, if it was helpful. So it's all kind of a trial and error, but the stuff that I've learned in this program is priceless, and I invite you to kind of go on your own journey if it feels right for you and if it feels right for your heart. Okay. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you next time. Lots of love.